Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So I'm working on the BC Rich ST again today. I've been doing a little bit of work off camera, obviously, in between episodes here. What I've determined is, after drilling the bridge posts, the bridge sits a little bit too high for the action that I want. So in order to install a Floyd on this thing, I'm actually going to have to recess the Floyd just a bit. I don't have a router template for that, so I'm going to kind of freehand it. Never mind this extra block that I put back here. Basically, I had to move the hole for the block on the tremolo. I had to move that forward about a quarter of an inch or so, and that's why that's there. I also had a little bit of another mistake over here on this side in measuring, so I've got a little bit of a patch on that side too, but I'm going to try to cover all this area, maybe with a decal or something later on. I just want to get the Floyd functional. Anyway, I've got these bridge holes drilled out. I didn't drill those with the metric drill bit because I don't have any. I actually drilled those with a W drill bit. And I've talked about lettered drill bits before in the past and numbered drill bits. That W drill bit was about the right size for those posts. It just turns out that the whole thing is just sitting too high, so I've got to do some routing. So I'm gonna try to mock up some kind of a straight edge to keep me straight on some of these flat areas, but basically do that routing by hand. All right, well, I've made a mess of my shop, but I have determined, I think, that the Floyd is gonna fit in that hole that I've made pretty well. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna paint this area with some flat black craft paint. Just kind of finish it off a little bit. Here you can see my mistake that I made earlier, but I'll have to figure out something to put over that kind of hides that area. But I'm gonna paint this all in here craft black. It's not the last time I'm gonna have to break out the router for sure, because I know I'm gonna have to widen this humbucker route just a little bit. I think the new humbucker ring that I've got has kind of shown me that the humbucker that came with the BC Rich is a little bit narrower than I was expecting. This humbucker ring would have me take about 1/8 of an inch off the front side of this humbucker route. So I'll probably end up having to do that, but that's not that big a deal. This is just a flat black craft paint that I've been using on speaker cabinets. That's not bad for doing it by hand. All right, well, my paint's dry and I've done a couple more things off camera. I went ahead and put my bridge studs in. Then I also went ahead and just enlarged the front of this cavity for this humbucker because I was trying to fit this new humbucker ring. This ring was a little bit wider. It should provide more space for a little bit larger humbucker. And these single coils, I'm not going to be able to do anything about those. They're kind of a strange shape. They're not a normal Stratocaster size, so I'm going to reuse those. I could route them a little bit bigger, but then the covers wouldn't cover the hole, so yeah, it's really not worth it. The pots that came with this thing are severely corroded, and I think what I'm going to do is use some full-size 500K CTS pots. So these holes have got to be drilled or enlarged up to 3/8. Whenever I'm drilling through a painted surface, I always start the drill in reverse, just to let you know. That helps prevent the paint from cracking, and then once you kind of get to that point where you've broken through the paint, then you can put the drill back and forward if you need to. Looks like these shafts are just going to fit. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to address some of the corrosion that's on the hardware for the pickup rings and the back plate, and it's mostly these tiny little screws that are black oxide coated, but the black oxide coating has worn away. What I've been doing is I've got a tiny amount of a solution called Evaporust, and I'm just soaking these in there. Once I get the rust off of them, and it'll take several hours of soaking in here to do that, I'm going to rinse them off in distilled water, and then I've got a Brownell's Oxbow blue coating, liquid gun bluing. I've also seen people using black oxide coating that looks very similar. Both of them are kind of blue in color. Soak it in there and it comes out with a black layer on it, and then you take that coated part and then you put it into some WD-40, and that sort of locks in that coating or protects that coating. While that hardware is bathing in that solution, I'm going to go ahead and install the hardware that's okay, which includes these strap buttons. I got some new felts. I went ahead and installed a jack plate here. I basically had one left over from the Pango build, and I installed that one. Let's drop some pots in here. I don't want them to stick out too far because I don't want my knobs to ride way above the surface. These are kind of a 3/4 length. They're not really a short, and they're not really a long for a Gibson. I accidentally ordered them for a Gibson build and they didn't fit. These are going to be perfect for this because they go through wood and not a pick guard, so the wood's a little bit thicker than a pick guard would be. I basically don't want any of the threads exposed. Just want enough threads just to get a nut on there. And I need to use a knurled washer on the back side here, and then a flat washer on the front side. And I think that's going to be just about perfect right there. There's not a lot of room in this cavity, so I'm probably going to end up having to bend those pins up a little bit just to kind of give myself a little bit more clearance. This is just kind of a trial fit right now. That's why I'm not tightening them with the wrench, and it's really just to make sure I've got enough room for everything. I've got to test fit that little switch, and I don't have the big switch yet, so I can only go so far. All right, more baby steps on the hardware. Gonna install this tremolo claw. So I'm gonna use the original claw, even if it doesn't match the Floyd exactly. I don't have to have the depth set exactly. That's going to be a process. And by the way, I have a quick tip on leveling a Floyd Rose if you're interested. That's another video. Just go look for that. All right, it's probably about time to check on those screws that are in that solution. All right, well, my screws have been soaking in here. I pulled a few of them out with a magnet just to kind of get started with this. What I'm going to do first is dunk the screws, and I'm really only concerned about the heads, to be honest, but I want to dunk these screws down into this bluing solution. And they're supposed to sit there for 4 or 5 minutes. I'll fast forward the video here. Okay, so pull these out. I'm just going to pat them dry just a little bit. Some of that black is going to come off. Hit them with filtered water, kind of rinse them off like that. Pat them dry real quick. Then they go into WD-40, both to kind of get rid of that water and to soak into that black oxide finish. Then I'm going to pat them dry again, and they look pretty good. There's actually a nice black finish on the heads, and they look perfectly like regular black oxide screws. So I did the rest of my screws and the black oxide coating, and you can see the results in these pickups that I've just sort of set into place here. I haven't done any wiring yet, but the pickups have like perfectly black screws now. That's the one thing that I like. The pickup rings anyway, they have perfectly black screws. I did the pickup screws themselves. I also did some of the screws up here at the nut. I've done the screws for the back plate, although I'm not ready to install that yet. I just cleaned up all the hardware and everything's looking kind of spick and span now, so I like that. Now the one thing I want to do is try to hide this little bit of damage that I had. It was a routing mistake that I made. Trying to move this hole. I'm going to use a vinyl sticker to cover that up so that it's durable, and I had a Santa Cruz sticker on hand from when I ordered the Santa Cruz skateboard for the skateboard guitar project. I think right about there is about right. All right, I'm going to go ahead and peel this backer off. I'm going to go ahead and trim it up and see how it looks after I trim it. All right, well, it's not perfect, but I think I'm going to go with it. I just kind of like the look of that sticker. You can see some of that damage there. It's not completely obvious, so that's what I was going for. All right, well, we're going to end the episode here. I actually broke my micro switch trying to get it in and out off camera just now, and I'm a little bit frustrated. I've got to order a few parts. I've got a few more things in the works. I'm going to do copper shielding in the cavity. Obviously, we're going to string this thing up and set the action, and we've got a new humbucker to go in here, so I've got a lot of things for another episode. So let's just end it here. I appreciate when you guys like and comment on my videos. I love it when you guys hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.